It's no secret. It's plain to see. I love you.
Hey, Stephen.
And you love me.
Now I've got to
It's no secret.
make sure there she is. Hey, Karen. Okay, I'm getting ready to invite you
You know it's true.
to the stage, invite to speak, and you should be able to accept that, and I'm going to invite you to video. So you should see both of those things pop up, and I'm going to turn off WaitBot. Hello, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday. We got a special show, Karan Rhodes. So I'm going to try it again, Karen. So hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to invite you, invite to speak. So you should see a pop-up. And then I'm going to invite you to video. So hopefully Karen will be able to get on here shortly. And we will get started on alignment, vision, action here with my special guest, Karan Rhodes, my soror, from the first and the finest Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. There she is. Woohoo! Yay! So good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Alignment Vision Action. I am your host, Laurel Rutledge, and I see Stephen and I see a new face, Tyrone, on there. So who just left. So maybe he'll come back in. So thank you guys so much. And good evening, Woody. Woody's on every show. So thank you so much, Woody, for coming in. I am so excited to be here. And I know a lot of people, it's a Wednesday night. Normally I'm on Thursdays and it's a Wednesday night. So I know people tune in and listen to the replay as well. So I want to welcome my amazing guest, Karan Rhodes. And we are going to be talking about all things leadership. We're going to be talking about showing up. We're going to talk about all that good stuff. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. And then this is being simulcast right now to YouTube as well. Let me make sure that it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yep, it is simulcasting. Okay. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, but when I get done and on the YouTube replay, you will see her full bio. So she is an organizational strategist. She's obsessed with up-leveling leadership capability and optimizing workforces to do their best work. She has written a book, Lead at the Top of Your Game, and she did some research whereby she developed her own leadership assessment called Leadership Tactics Diagnostic. I'm telling you, the woman is heavy, heavy, heavy. And I'm so glad we're getting ready to do the live show today. Welcome, Karen. Uh-oh, can you hear me? Yay, there you are. Okay.
Hello.
Awesome.
I'm so sorry I'm moving from place to place because the connection is not quite right. And I apologize.
No, that's okay. It happens live.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it happens. No, we're all good. We're all good. So where I want to start is here. And Stephen, feel free at any time to jump in as well on the stage.
I lost you again.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Can you see us? Hear us? Are you there? We can see and hear you. Or at least I can see you. Uh-oh, it looks like we're having some technical issues. Can you see me now? Can you hear us now?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can now, yes. It's been in and out, so I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. It happens. We'll and if it gets really crazy, we'll just reschedule and do it again. It's my show, so we can do that.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about all things alignment, vision, action today with this amazing guest, and I want to start here because I think so many people, when they're in leadership positions, we talked about this a little bit on the podcast, the pre-recorded podcast, and we talked about how some people are trying to decide, are they going to stay doing their regular? Are they just going to do their side hustle? Are they going to move? How are they going to do it? And I want you to tell people a little bit about you starting your business and the support you actually had at Microsoft to do so. So as people start thinking about their differentiating value, how you started doing that and started your own thing. Uh-oh, did we lose you again? I think we may have lost you again, Karen. Can you hear me now? Stefan, can you hear me okay? Because I'm wondering if it's my end. Hey, Jenny.
Can't hear.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, Stefan can hear me. Okay, Jenny, can you hear me?
I can't hear anything.
Okay, so Karen, I'm going to put something here. Maybe let's put in the chat.
Okay.
I'm going to change the fortune cookie.
Okay, try again. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. So maybe try coming back in. Can you see that? I don't know. Can you hear me now? Sounds like there may be something with the audio going on. I'm not sure. But Jenny, you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine, Laurel.
Okay, and I know Stefan can hear me. So I think it's something on Karen's end. You still can't hear?
Okay, I'll try to come back in.
Okay, perfect. So we'll keep an eye out for her. So here's what I'll do. Did she leave? Yeah, okay, good. So she's going to try to come back in. And Stefan, just FYI, I got a note about us connecting through Alice. So hopefully that'll connect us too. So we'll find a time for us to do our collab show. Good to hear from you, Jenny.
You too.
So this is what happens with live.
Yeah, I had a little trouble getting in myself. I had to reload the app. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. How's your week going?
Everything's going really great. Hey, Woody, we're having a little technical difficulty, but we're going to make it happen. So Karen, I'm going to I don't think she can hear me. I wonder if I should kick her from the show. I just hate to do that because I know she's new. Wonder if I kick her from the show if she'll be able to come back in. What do you think, Jenny?
I don't know. I've not kicked anybody before.
Me neither. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, Laurel. It's good to see you and good to
You
hear
too.
you.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I did want to say, I think if you kick her, she might not be able to come back.
That's what I thought.
Because Fireside would be like, oh, she did something wrong. So
yeah. That's why I was like, let me not click that. That would be my luck.
Don't kick her.
Right. Yeah, now hopefully she can come back in because I still see her here. So Karen, if you can hear us, you might want to leave the show completely and start it over. And if not, we'll reschedule and we'll talk about some other stuff. So we'll just start chit-chatting. So what I love about, and thank you, Woody, for being here. And we saw somebody, Tyrone, I'd never seen before. But one of the things, Jenny, you want to fix the, I don't know what we want to put in the fortune cookie.
I'm just telling Karen if she can leave the app and restart it again.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So, and I don't think I have her cell number, or I'd text her. But when we were talking to Karen, so Karen and I also interviewed on the Static podcast that's pre-recorded this week. And she did a couple of cool things. One, she did commissioned a whole research study to do her own diagnostic. But, a lot of people are working their day job and then doing a side hustle and then deciding to completely leave and all these kind of things. What was really cool is she was at Microsoft, and Microsoft actually supports people doing a side hustle while they work there full time. I didn't know that. Yeah. And so you just have to, Lisa Summer. Okay, no. Lisa, so she was able to, now you have to go through the hoops and make sure you're not doing something that's competing with Microsoft, but they actually support doing that same thing because they feel like, she was saying they feel like it helps people, really get engaged. Good evening, Michael. We have a guest this evening, Karan Rhodes, but she's having a little technical difficulty, so we're waiting for her to come back. So I was just talking about how she started her side hustle, and actually Microsoft supported her in doing that. And so one of the things we talked about with people is, if you're going to do something, here she goes, accept request. Let's see if she's back. Okay, Karan, can you hear us now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yay! Awesome, we can hear you. Okay, I'm gonna invite you to video as well.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do invite to video. Okay, so then you should have your video. Let's see if that'll come. Yay! Can you still hear us?
I can.
Fantastic. Yeah, sometimes it happens. This is why it's called live.
Yes.
So I was just telling people that what was so cool is that you told me that I learned in the podcast was even starting your own thing. Microsoft was really supportive about people doing their own thing at the same time. And so many people struggle with, do I do a side hustle? Do I kind of just do it covert? Do I just quit and do something else? I'd really like you to tell people that are here tonight, what made you decide to do it while you were there at Microsoft, and talk a little bit about how that support, worked to be able to do this side hustle and then convert it into full time.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will say, and I share it with you, it tells me a little bit my age. This was before it was cool, and companies had incubator programs. A lot of companies have that now to try to help retain their talent. But at the time, there was no such thing. So they were kind of cutting edge. And when they offered it, it was only to select job functions because Microsoft didn't want anyone competing with their core business. So your software developers and what have you couldn't do that. But those of us who were kind of on the fringe and not competing directly with the company, they allowed us to do it. But they held tight reins. So we had to meet with the employment lawyers once a year, jointly with our managers. Your performance had to be exemplary, and there was all kinds of checks and balances around that. But I was very blessed to be part of that program, which was cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, the other thing we talked about is, you gotta, no matter what you're doing, if there's something you're doing on the side, whether or not it has anything to do, even if it's just a hobby, that whole idea of performing, right? And managing your performance when you are working for someone else, with this whole alignment, vision, action, and really sitting into that, it's knowing who you are and where you are, getting really clear on what you want, and then taking action. And I think what people forget sometimes is when you're working for someone else, you have got to perform. And so even if you're miserable, if you're tired, if stuff is going on, how do you manage through ensuring your performance stays up so that you don't inadvertently create a situation where somebody's asking you to leave? How did you counsel and coach people to, keep the performance going, even if they really didn't love what they were doing?
As part of the program, or for myself, or to others?
For yourself and for folks that you've coached and coaching now through your business.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. Well, for myself, I did create, boundaries of the time that I would be working on the business versus not. I fortunately was flexible to have a global position where I didn't have to go into the office every day, but I did travel quite a bit. But I put boundaries on the work times. And when there were client engagements where I needed to be on site, I did use my PTO time to do that. So I was not robbing Microsoft of any time, and it was approved and nobody, had anything to do. But I was very, very conscious of overachieving because I didn't want my manager who had to approve all this. I did not want to put them in a bad light, nor did I want to put myself or the business in a bad light. And so what I coach individuals now is that if you are fortunate enough to be in such a situation, make sure that you're very transparent with your management chain or leadership chain, so that the worst thing that can happen is that they're surprised that you're doing that, because it will come out. I mean, people research folks all the time, and it will eventually come out. So you don't want to put either one of you in a bad situation. And you also want to make sure that you do your business on your own personal equipment and property. You never want to use your employer's equipment and property because a couple of reasons. They can technically claim your intellectual property if you conduct business on that, because that is their equipment and their rights. And then secondly, when and if you decide to go full time, you will have everything on your computer versus or tools versus the companies. And it keeps you out of a lot of legal jeopardy and lowers your legal risk. So I do counsel those who are doing that to take care of yourself, take care of your business, and take care of your intellectual property.
Yeah, I love that. And you had quite a vision around this when you were taking on this global role and trying to figure out, how you could serve better. And I have a lot of people that ask me, I know what I'm doing now is not what I want to do. I know that, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. What is it that this thing is, and how do I figure that out? So as you had this big global role, you were working with talent, you were, clearly an exceptional performer. How did you kind of sit into and identify the vision for your next thing that you could then act upon?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I did is I drank my own Kool-Aid, to be honest with you. I did a lot of reflection about how I wanted to make a difference in the world and what I had been rewarded for and what people continuously came back to me for. And it was really about people strategy in a nutshell. The situations they asked about were quite different, whether it be issues with the manager or leadership, talent development, or how they could progress their career. There's a lot of things that happen, but it all boiled down under people strategy. And so that is what I identified as what I call differentiating value that I was bringing to the table. This is what people sought me out for. This is the type of work I would do for free if I didn't have to pay a light bill. But, I encourage everyone to go through that period of reflection. And sometimes you might need a coach or assistant or a colleague or a confidant to help you kind of flesh that out, what it is. But you really need to make sure you find the intersection between where your passions and expertise lie and where you can bring that value to others who are in need. Because you may have your passion, but if it's in an area that no one is seeking that out, it's going to be hard to make a living to do that. And it's going to take a little bit of work and it'll take a little bit of time most times, but you can do it. You can definitely do it.
And that brings up a really interesting question, because I was just on a masterclass last night with Rachel Rogers. So people who don't know her, she wrote "We Should All Be Millionaires," and she's really cool. But and she was talking about something similar, right? Like find that, she didn't call it differentiating value, but find that your value proposition essentially is what she was saying. What is that thing that you bring value to? But here's a question that I think people ask, and I know I've asked myself too, is because there's another book, The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks, that talks about, your zone of excellence and your zone of genius. What if what people seek you out for, what you are exceptional at, is not what makes you excited? But that, it's like, you've got to do something else and you want to serve, but that thing just doesn't do it. In fact, you're really good at it and you can do it well, and you're all bought in and knowing that, but it just sucks the soul right out of you. What do you tell people who are trying to find something different, but their thing that people seek them out for is just not what gets their soul stirring?
Yeah. So then that's when you're going to need to focus on transforming your personal brand and lead what eventually is your leadership brand. Because everybody has a personal brand, and we, all know that. That's what people think about you when you're not in the room. That's what they want to recommend you for, what you go for. And if what they seek you out for is not where your passion lies, then you're going to need to rewrite the script. You're going to have to reset expectations on how you would like to be perceived and the type of additional value in your area of passion that you want to, help with them or help out in the world. And it's not like you have to, I'd say, tell everybody. It's those where your passion is usually there's a target audience that wants what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So it's going to be important for you to position your new leadership brand, if you will, in the area that aligns with your passion directly to the audience that you're trying to serve. And if you're hitting on their pain points and helping them to understand where you can help them, then you're going to attract the type of people to you that does align with your passion point.
No, that's really good, because I know for me, when I went out and left corporate, I'm like, I'm an exceptional senior HR executive. I am. I'm really good at what I do. I can connect dots that other people don't even see, much less are able to connect. And it sucks the life out of me. I just, that whole being in constant conflict because people couldn't decide what they want and when they want it, and they say one thing and mean something, it just makes me crazy. And when I got out and started doing some things, I remember, and it all comes full circle. If you listen, if you pause and really listen, it comes full circle. Because my first thing was, nope, what I know is I don't want anybody to be in the same pain I was in. It's about who you are, where you are, what you want, and what it takes to get there. I know that. That was my very first video, everything. But then it was like, oh, but Laurel, we know you need to serve, and we got all these small business owners and they don't know what to do with HR and they get in so much trouble. And then I'm like, oh, and I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm like, don't do that, right? Don't do that. Yeah. Do this and not that, right? And so you find yourself getting sucked into helping people because you have an expertise, right?
Yeah.
But
you don't have to get sucked in.
Yeah.
What you can do is be a resource to redirect them to others whose passion it is theirs. Because I hear you on that. And although, yes, I think we both could help, small businesses or other segments of the market. But to be honest with you, and I shared with you on the podcast, my personal passion and where I founded my company was helping larger size and enterprise level firms. That's where I connected. That's where I felt home. That's where I understood the workplace dynamics. That's where I felt I could be of most help to help others navigate. And quite honestly, those are the individuals that could afford the types of services that we're providing, because we're providing high level strategy to some very gnarly people, initiatives, and problems. And so that is our space. But you can be a resource or provide options and connect those whose passions are in that other area, and in this case, small business.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting because I think we get caught up sometimes in figuring out who we're serving, right? So if you listen to Seth Godin, it's like niche down, niche down, niche down, get really, really narrow. And there's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of truth in get really like target, bullseye, here's who I serve. And yet I think it's also important for people to give themselves space to figure out and move into what that is, especially if you left a really toxic place. So I can only speak for me and a lot of people I serve. If you leave a place that's really, really toxic, there's some recovery that you have to go through. I'm still a recovering senior HR executive. But there's recovery that you have to go through that sometimes
PTSD,
can cloud, right? That can cloud your real passion. So when I think about it now, going back in and serving specific leaders within corporations, I'll help all day long. Because like you, I know how to navigate that. I know what it means to navigate it. But when I first came out, I'm like, don't get me anywhere near. If it has a fortune in front of it, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Right? I don't want, no, right? No. And so when you think about your business and how you have really targeted, no, this is really where, I serve best. This is where my passion is. Did you go through a period where you're like, now I've left, where should it be, right? Were you ever kind of waffling, or were you like, nope, this is really clear for me?
I was clear about the target market. I didn't have as concrete boundaries on who I would serve, because the first years out, I was a solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking to replace your income and exceed it, and I fell victim to taking opportunities and clients that weren't ideal for me,
Yeah.
but it kept money coming in.
Yeah.
But I soon realized that wasn't the type of business that aligned with my passions. And then that's at the point that I changed the business model to be to hire employees, partner with other consultants, and really be a lot more detailed on my targeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was an evolution. I wasn't perfect. I'll be the first to say. But once I zoned in to my unique differentiation proposition, as I like to say, and was targeting those clients that gave me joy, revenue soared. Revenues absolutely soared. So my advice to your audience is trust the process. It's hard. I know. I've been there, and I'll be the first to admit I wasn't perfect. But in the end, I am in such a better place now than I was when I first stepped out of corporate.
I love that. And good evening, Demetrius. And anyone who has a question in the audience, feel free to ask to invite yourself to the stage, invite to speak, and all of that. And if you want to be on camera, feel free to be on camera, because we can have up to 4 people on camera. So what's interesting about what you said, again, that whole vision and action. That's what I loved about talking to you is having this vision and then moving into action. And so the other piece when someone starts something is, what kind of business? I had someone ask, or I was listening to somebody the other day. No, I was listening to the book, Stacey Abrams and her partner, Laura Hodgson, their book. I was listening to their book, and they were talking about their business and what they have now, their fintech business that they have now. And they had a business that failed and all this kind of stuff. And one of the things they said was, when you start your business, start thinking about what you want it to be when you're tired. When you're done, what's left? Right? Are you building a business to sell? Are you building a business for a legacy? What are you building? Especially if you're a solopreneur, because when you're gone, it's done. Right? And I had to really pause and think about that, because I don't want employees, not a single one. I don't want one. I will do partnerships, right? And I know I need a handler. So thank you, Jenny. I need a handler because I have a problem with my own calendar. But I know that's not something I want to do. And so looking at what your structure is going to be, depending on what you really want and how you want to serve, is really important, because I know my limit is my ability to do time. So when you first started, and you started as a solopreneur, and you started thinking about this business that you wanted to do, and you knew who you wanted to serve, how did you make the decision, right? How did you have the vision to then put action in place to say, nope, I want this to be bigger. And because I want to serve these bigger clients, I know I'm going to need team, and this is the kind of team I'm going to need to put together. Now, beyond being an HR person, so talent, but I'm thinking putting on your entrepreneur hat, what was the trigger for you that said, no, the way I want to build this is I do want an organization so that I can serve bigger organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, coming out, as I mentioned, I started out as a solopreneur, but I was only a solopreneur for about the first maybe 2 years out of corporate. But I realized a couple things. When I was getting a lot of referrals, because friends and colleagues wanted to help me succeed, and I realized that I could only serve so many people before my calendar and bandwidth were full. And I felt bad turning down clients when friends put their necks out for, putting SDL in front of for the opportunity. And then I realized I was I was back in a job without, I was without reporting to somebody else, but I was still in a self-created job.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized then I really wanted to expand my impact.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cherry pick the opportunities that I personally consulted on, and I wanted to bless others and provide them opportunities to engage with some major clients. I wanted to give my staff opportunities to help take them and progress their careers. And I wanted to give partner consultants opportunities with some big name clients that would maybe help them boost their business in the future. And when I realized that was important to me, then I knew I had to change the business model.
Mm-hmm. That's really important because I think, and good evening, Stacy, welcome to the show. I think that's really important because, it changes over time, right? It changes, or it can change over time. There are some people who come out and they're like, nope, this is it. This is what I want. This is where I'm moving. It's, and they do not deviate. There are folks who do that. And most of those folks at least that I've met, most of the folks that are there come from long lines of entrepreneurs, or they've had, lots of entrepreneurial engagement and involvement. It's just a different kind of exposure, right? And mindset. Out of corporate, there seems to be a more of a willingness and a tendency to kind of start down a lane, kind of like our strategies, right? You start down a lane, but then you get after acquired information and you're like, oh, well, I need to adjust. Oh, well, I need to adjust. And so there's power in the ability to just at least do something, imperfect action, right? Just move and then allow yourself for adjustment. So how do you tell people, and especially when you think about leaders within an organization, there are some times when what you did, you just got to adjust. And you can't get all your emotions and your ego all tied up in having to adjust. So how do you, especially when you think about your leadership tactics diagnostic, how are you helping leaders, whether they're an entrepreneur or in an organization, be okay with a shift or a swerve or an adjustment or whatever word they want to use with their initial, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. The whole premise behind the leadership tactics diagnostic is all about what I like to call leadership in action.
Mm-hmm.
It is taking all the knowledge that you have around leadership and actually applying it in your day to day, no matter if you own a business or if you're in, working at an employer or you're at a nonprofit, what have you. And leadership is just a combination of, I call micro moments, right?
Yes.
Opportunities to lead at a particular way in time. And then there are different things that you can do that will be applicable based on your situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if, for instance, if you know that you have to make a presentation to your skip level leader in your company, then one of the tactics that came out of the research that we really teach on is around leading with executive presence. And there are multiple competencies and things that you do around that. But at that time is when you'll need to go deep in pulling together all your knowledge in order to, be influential, impactful, and polished, and have the grit to answer a lot of the questions that they have. That is going to be something that you'll need to focus on in that particular situation. While tomorrow you might be in a team meeting where you're going to have to use what we call stakeholder savvy, where you're going to have to be very conscious of what your team wants, your key stakeholders want, your colleagues want, and adjust as needed.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, it's important that, and our research fleshed out that there were 7 main tactics, leadership tactics, that if you mastered those, and this is what most high performing leaders master, these 7, that their probabilities for leadership success and accomplishing their goals really dramatically increased. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but being astute in choosing when to use the right tactic or combination of tactics as you're trying to address what's ever in front of you for that day or that moment or that hour, is very important, and it's through practice. We can teach what it is, but until you're in the mud trying to figure it out, that's when you sometimes need guidance if you don't know exactly what to do. And that's where our team becomes confidants. We first teach you what the tactics are, but then we really believe in being a confidant and being supportive, where you could reach out to us and then we can help you when there are times when you might be, turning around like the Tasmanian devil trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? Because this is a curveball that I wasn't expecting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that's important that, whether you have a coach, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employer, whether you're an employee, whether you are just beginning your career or whether you are in the C-suite, it is so important to have that confidant. And quite frankly, it's most important in the C-suite because there's so much that you know and so much you have access to and so few people you can talk to in a safe space. Some because of, SEC and all that kind of stuff. You got to be careful about what you're saying to some people, especially if you're in legal or you're in finance or you're in HR. There's just a lot of stuff that you can't necessarily tell everybody. So you have to have those spaces where you can have confidential conversations where you can be free to really express your own vulnerability, your own concerns, your own fears, your own worries, and get real guidance that's going to be truth-telling, but supportive in that. And so, if you think about now, you've got this business, right? You are leading people, you've got a team, and you're going out and you're serving. Yeah. Who serves you? How do you ensure that you still have that space?
Oh, great question. I'm actually part of 3 different types of mastermind groups. All have a different, I say, high-level area of focus, but these individuals are all peers and colleagues that one of them I've been part of for 7 years.
Wow.
But these are individuals that we've gained each other's trust. We tell it like it is. We don't sugarcoat, but we all do it in the spirit of helping to elevate others. And so from a business perspective, depending upon what kind of quagmire I'm tackling, I'll select either one of the mastermind groups or a particular person inside the group that has a particular area of expertise, and really talk them through that. And if I need a layman's perspective, I do have some friends, even the hubby, that I'll test things out on if I don't want them to be clouded with the type of work I do, and I just want an honest layman's opinion on, what do you think about X, Y, or Z?
Well, and I think that's important for everybody who's listening is, your village is varied. Your village is varied. There are those people who are truly just your support system. They are your ride or die. They whatever you're doing, they're in there with you, right? Now they're going to tell you the truth too, but they are there with you. But they aren't necessarily the ones that are going to give you that deep down expertise around what you're trying to do. They're just supporting you because they love you. So you got to have those folks in your village, but you also got to find those people who are true advocates, true supporters, true experts in where you're trying to be. Like they say, sit at the feet of people who have been where you are and be willing to learn, and grow and develop. For those of you in the audience, anyone who has a comment or question, feel free to invite yourself to the stage. Would love to have your input as we get here close to the end of the hour. As we're here talking about alignment, vision, action with Karan Rhodes, a former senior HR executive with Microsoft and now the owner of her own business, a published author, a developer of her own leadership diagnostic based on some incredible research, and just all around incredible person here. And of course, I love her because she is a sorority sister too. So, we are in the sisterhood together. And I almost wore some pink and green tonight, and I was like, okay, but I have my glasses. So, so I'm representing a little. So Karen, as we kind of round this out, what I loved about talking to you is that there is such power in, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, there is such power and value in experience. And we have a tendency to fight that battle of, especially in older organizations like a Microsoft, like a General Motors, like, these older organizations, we tend to fight that battle of, well, wait a minute, I've been here 20 years. There's stuff that I know, or I just got here, but I shouldn't have to work 20 years to be able to be a director or whatever. And what gets lost in the middle of that is the value of expertise, the value of, as you called it, those scars, those battle scars, that getting in the mud to understand how you can not only recognize when something's coming again, but how you can be confident in your own resilience and your ability to think through that. But also it gives you some stepping stones to avoid like pitfalls. So as you're going in these bigger organizations and you're working with them, like you said, through some of these really gnarly situations, especially around people and structure, how are you helping them balance, especially when I look at the audience, right? And they themselves or people that they know are in that, career thing or trying to figure out what to do. How are you helping organizations balance that? Look, it's 2022. Stuff moves faster. We don't have to go to encyclopedia. We can go to Google, right? So it's not necessarily going to take you 20 years to get to the same thing. And yet that 20 years is or that job that took 20 years to get also doesn't take the same level of expertise because you can push a button. You don't have to do it just all in your head. So how are you helping them navigate it and then help people understand how they can still fit, add value, and grow on both of those spectrums?
No,
Early and
that's a
late
great
experience.
question.
Uh-oh, I think we lost her in. Oh, there you're back. Okay, you're back now.
What was the last
So
thing you
on
said?
either way, whether it's that early experience or the ones that have been there, how are you helping organizations balance that, the 5 generations we got in organizations now, so that we are valuing experience, but we're also valuing new ideas and early and young and early adopters of stuff? Uh-oh, I think we're having technical challenges again. Shoot! Did we lose you again?
I almost got through it. I think I got you. Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me
can hear you
now?
now. Yes.
Okay. And I think you were asking about how can we help organizations understand have to wait a lot of experience for people for them to progress.
Right. So how are you helping organizations balance that highly experienced people, which is valuable, but also early career people that want to move so much faster, to value both of those things?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm coming, I hear in and out, but okay. What I try to help organizations understand that it's what people are bringing to the table at the time. So yes, having 10 years experience is great, but to be honest with you, what you were hired for is just an employment contract for what you and the company agreed that you would do for a certain amount of compensation. Where corporations differentiating value expertise above what you can find in Google or what you're bringing to the table that is making a difference over and above what your job description is.
Mm-hmm.
So what I try to do from an organization side is work with them to help better understand what their employees can bring to the table. What is that hidden potential? What is that area of knowledge or expertise that will add even more value to the organization? And where I try to help employees understand is that they need to be able to become more astute in articulating what they can bring to the table over and above their current job description. And yes, I wish we were in a world that when you're rocking your job 150%, that you would automatically be considered for career progression. But that's just not reality. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in is, what have you done for me lately? What more that you can do? Do I have confidence that if I move you to the next career stage, that you are going to be able to bring even more value to our strategic goals and to the bottom line? And so once you as a person can articulate that, and it doesn't matter if you're at an employer or maybe you're working in a nonprofit, once you articulate to your donors, if you're in a nonprofit, or your bosses if you're at an employer, or if you work for the government, to your constituents, once you articulate what additional value you can bring to them, that's when you have earned the right to be heard and to be considered for additional respect and opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. That is so, and I think we don't have enough of those conversations around it is
No.
value. What value are you bringing? What value are you bringing?
Yes. And it's a two-way conversation.
Yes. And that whole, well, it's my turn. Well, I've been here 10 years. Well, I've been here 2 minutes and I want to be CEO, right? Both ends of those spectrum. At the end of the day, especially if you're working for someone else, remember that it's about a bottom line. It's about a profit margin. And it's not that you're not valuable as a person, right? But it's not about you. It's about the bottom line. What value are you bringing to the goals and the strategies that they're trying to put in place? And I think having those conversations more regularly, more honestly, because you don't have to be, ugly. It's not unkind to be clear. And you don't have to be ugly to be candid. Having those conversations about the values that we add and the value, as you call it, your differentiating value, right? You guys got to pick up her book, your differentiating value. If you start the conversation there, then it's unemotional. It's fact-based.
That's right.
You can get out of your feelings. Because see, the company doesn't care about your feelings. There may be individuals who do, but the organization doesn't care about how you feel. They want to know what you're bringing to the table. And so how do we help you get there? So Karan, it is about 10 minutes. So I'm going to open it up. If anybody in the stage had any kind of questions or comments, we would love to hear those. And if not, we usually try to end around, 45 minutes to 50 minutes. And we will definitely have Karan back too, coming back on the show at a later date as well. But if there's any comments, questions from anybody on the stage, please feel free to jump up. But if not, Jenny?
I was just wondering, when you wrote your book, and how did you know it was time? And how did you decide what to write about?
Oh, that's good. Oh no, did we lose her again? Did you hear that, Karan?
Catching up. Can you
We
hear
can
me?
hear you now. Yeah.
No.
I think it's
Sure.
delayed on her end.
I
Okay,
didn't
you want
hear
to
the
try it again,
question.
Jenny?
I'm sorry.
I was just wondering when you decided to write your book, and how did you know it was time? And how did you decide what to write about?
Great question. Well, I had always wanted to write a book. I've always been passionate about leadership development. And I had the unique experience of being able to start a global high potential leadership program at Microsoft that was sponsored by the COO, who was Kevin Turner at the time. And this was before succession slates and high potential leaders was even a buzzword. And so I was able to be part of a think tank with other major Fortune 100 companies, and I just fell in love with the space. And so after I left Microsoft, I decided to commission a research study because I was very curious and passionate about what differentiated high potential leaders who were wildly successful from others that weren't quite as successful. And I thought if we could get to the root cause or what were the right traits that they were bringing to the table, that would be a gift to both organizations and employees. And so that was what was it was a pretty penny, but we commissioned the research project with a reputable firm, and we interviewed over 10,000 employees who were identified as high potential leaders within their organizations, and quite honestly worked on the data, and we ended up with over 50 actual tactics and traits, but there was a clear line of demarcation on the top 7. And so I thought, wow, if we could just get these top 7 out there and get folks upskilled in those areas, what magic could we bring to the world of work?
That's awesome.
Great.
See, and it's an inspiration. I just need to get off my butt and write my book. It just, it just got to make it a priority, right? We got time. Right. We get to choose how we use our time. And so I need to get my choices going. So
it took me a minute too. I kept putting it off. So I said I get the vocal do this. So
yes. Yeah. I'm going to have to just put it top of the list. Well, everybody, it is just about 8:00. And I am Laurel, your host of Alignment Vision Action here on Fireside every week. And we are here with Karan Rhodes, who is just amazing. Again, go pick up her book, Lead at the Top of Your Game. Go pick up her book. Check her out. She is on all the gram and stuff. And I believe I put her bio even in the show. So when the replay launches, you can go get her bio and all of her personal links. Go listen to her interview on the Rutledge Perspective podcast. We dropped that this morning as well, so you can listen to that pre-recorded one. And then again, the replay of this one will be up. And please follow her. And if you are looking for a way to help yourself, to help a colleague, to help a kid, a nephew, whoever, really think about leadership, this is a great place to start. So pick up that book. Go look at those 7 leadership tactics and give yourself a good foundation to move into that next space. So, Karan, thank you. Thank you so much for being on Fireside with me, Alignment Vision Action. I so appreciate it. It was just great to have you here.
Thank you. And can I give one gift to your audience? Do we have time
for
that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes. And if you want to type it to me, I'll put it in the replay. That might be easier. Maybe we can put that in the fortune cookie, Jenny. So she can I'll make it part of the replay.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. You back? Okay, there you are. Because we can do if not, we can put it in the replay, the gift in the replay. Either way, it works.
Well, if anyone wants to just get a little heads up on and some insight, there's a free quiz that is on our website on identifying your own leadership trigger. And a trigger is if you're ever curious about what others do that make you jump to action, how are you best influenced? We have a free quiz on our website. So if you go to shockinglydifferent.com/trigger, TRIGGER, I invite you all to take the free quiz.
That's great. Yep. shockinglydifferent.com/trigger. shockinglydifferent.com/trigger. And get that trigger.
/trigger.
Make sure you get that and go take that free quiz. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that'll be really cool. I think it'll be insightful for people too. So I'm gonna have to go do that too this weekend. So thank you again, Karan. Thank you for that gift. Everybody that's in the audience, and for those of you who are going to be listening to the replay, definitely go out and check that out and go pick up the book. And then we will plan to see you next week. I believe next week, it's back on Thursday next week. And I'll have another special guest next week. So I look forward to seeing you on Alignment Vision Action.